Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. My name is Rose Joshua. Welcome to Family and Finance, where we provide you with free information that will help your finances. Today, I have a very important guest, and he's going to talk about himself. But, he's one of my mentors. I've watched him. He's mentored me the past 4 years, and he's very big on, okay, I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but I'm just going to have Mr. Paul Harding, please welcome to my show.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Before you start, what I'd like to do for my listeners is to point everyone to Mr. Harding's Instagram page. He has a lot of information there. So let me start with that one. Mr. Paul Harding at Paul Douglas Harding Instagram. I will visit in this particular show. I will visit that Instagram page to draw some attention to the amazing work that Paul is doing. But let's go back to Paul. Paul, please, again, welcome to my show. And please tell us a bit about yourself and what you do. And, let's start from there.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. A little bit about myself. So I've been in the financial services business for 15 years. This is actually my 16th year this year. And it was pretty humble beginnings. I was working with a company that I was able to start part-time. I've stayed with the same company for a long period of time. I kind of grew up in this business. It was early 20s that I got involved. And I was educated and kind of got to learn the business side and the financial side as a young man. And, it was one of the best educations I could have got. But outside of business, I'm married. I've been married this fall will be 7 years to my beautiful wife, Logan. We have two kids. My daughter is 4. Her name's Harlem. And my son is 2, and his name is Beckham.
Harlem and Beckham and Logan.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. So you know what? Why don't I kind of start with asking you about your journey? Because I know that where you're at, and we're going to reveal a few things about your finances. Where did you start? So you started in business as a 20-something-year-old man. You've been in business for 16 years. So if you don't mind, that means you're not 40 yet?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. That's amazing. Wow, that's cool. If I do the math, yeah, you're definitely not 40 yet. You have a few years to go. That's cool. I am super impressed. I'm almost 60, and I am just impressed at how you have jumped from where you were at to where you are now. So you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. My parents were, my mom was pretty much a stay-at-home mom. My dad made most of the money in the family. He's the primary wage earner. My dad worked for the same company for 40 years. And he kind of went through the kind of idea of you get a good job, you work there for a long time. And my dad did get a decent pension. And so I learned lots from that. And I necessarily didn't want that exactly. I ended up kind of being a rebellious teenager where I did the opposite of what my parents wanted me to do. They wanted me to go to post-secondary right away. I decided I was going to take a couple of years off. And that's what I did. I worked at the grocery store. So I was a retail meat manager for a few years. So I got to learn retail. I got to learn people, which I'm thankful for. And then I came to this crossroads where I was looking at programs to go to school, degrees, diplomas, different things. And I never went that route. At some point in time, I actually look forward to going back. Now might not be the time with small kids, but eventually I'd like to upgrade the education. I've been able to do lots of courses and lots of licensing through my business, which has been great. But I loved when I ran into a business that was going to teach me hands-on, that I was going to be educated through. I kind of jumped at it because I was looking for other options. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I honestly felt like I had this much month, but only this much money. And So I started looking for like part-time. I started looking for part-time things, because I read a couple books and they talked about multiple streams of income. And I
Mhm.
think nowadays a lot of people call it a side hustle or side hustles. And there's nothing wrong with having multiple streams of income and
Mhm.
finding ways to make extra money. And so I thought getting into the financial services industry was going to be more of a hobby, somewhere I could learn, somewhere I can make more
Mhm.
money. And then within 6 months, I started making more money doing this full-time, or sorry, my business part-time that I was even making my full-time job. So I decided to leave my job six
Wow.
months into financial services. And then I've
Mhm.
been full-time ever since.
Wow. That's amazing. Being able to pay yourself in a full-time salary from a part-time gig. That's cool. If you don't mind, how much were you making as a that's a grocery store meat department manager?
Yeah, I was making about 35 to 40,000 a year.
Hmm.
And
And now, fast forward, how much are you making now, like per annum?
yeah, I think like the where I topped out was just shy of $300,000 a year. And I've been kind of in that range for the last couple of years.
$300,000 a year from $35,000, and that's amazing. And so
Mhm.
I'd like to kind of dwell on that because it's a big jump from 35K as a meat manager to 300,000 plus for year on year as a financial services businessman. So you know before I'm going to base my question on your Instagram because I've been spending some time on your Instagram page. And so I'd like for you to kind of share with us some of the journey because I know it hasn't been smooth. I know there's been some places where you'd like to share with us. Because the reason I'm asking that is for my listeners out there, so they know that this is not like it's not piece of cake, it's not instant coffee, it's not get rich quick, it's not like, it takes time and the process. I'd like for you to share that process with us, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
sure.
yeah, so
And
let's start with, yeah, go ahead, sir.
no, I was going to say that, most of the things in life, the strength truly does come from the struggle. And, a lot of times when we're in the moment of struggle, which we all go through that and we all experience different things. One
Mhm.
thing I truly do believe in, though, is that we put our struggles or our problems in a bin and we all put them in a bin and we pulled problems out, we would probably want our own problems back.
Mm.
And so, there's always people that are dealing with heavier things or in a worse financial position than you are.
Yes.
And, and, how I've gotten to where I am today is it's not because I've worked a lot harder. There's a lot of people like I mentioned my dad,
Mhm.
he never made over 100 grand a year. So he worked the same job for 40 years and he worked very hard. He was an honest
Mm.
working guy. Obviously, to stay at a company for 40 years, you had to do some things right.
Mhm.
And, but not all careers, industries pay the same. And
Yep.
so he was a hardworking guy, probably in the wrong industry and for his skill sets, because he probably
Yep.
could have made a lot more money with his skill sets doing something different. And so I tell you that because I think I actually worked harder at times in the grocery store business than I
Yep.
ever have had to do. Because for those of you that are listening that have done retail or
Mhm.
retail management, retail people work very hard. They skip their
Yep.
breaks, they're working overtime hours, there's a lot of work that's involved in retail. So there
Mhm.
were times where I worked harder to make $35,000-$40,000 a year than fast forward today where I arguably work less. Now, I think a lot different. I work a lot smarter than I used
Mhm.
to, which
Mhm.
will kind of be the key factors to that.
Yep.
Um, I'm not sure if you want to comment on any of that, Dr. Rose, but those are the things that kind of came to mind.
You know what? I'm gonna let you do all the talking today because I really want my listeners to hear everything you have for them in the short time that we have. And I do completely agree with you. So let me jump to your Instagram page because I want my listeners to go there to learn some more. But let me jump there for now. And so this is Paul's Instagram's page. And you can tell right away, Paul is a family man. So there's Paul, there's Logan, there's Harlem, there's Beckham. So family and, lots of lifestyle pictures. I really love those. So what I'd like to focus, I really, really love the family pictures. Oh, look at that, adorable. This is so cool, So I want to dwell on a couple of posts, and I'd like you to share with us the story behind them. That way my audience can learn from that. So this one says, we cannot direct the winds, but we can adjust ourselves. So can you tell us the story behind this, and what can we learn from your experience?
Yeah, all that's really saying, if we say it in a different way, is that, at times we can't necessarily control everything, but we can control how we react to those things, right? You can't control the winds, but you can definitely set the different sails or move things in a different direction. Because a lot of times it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you react to those things that happen to you in life. I came from a family, we didn't come from a lot of money. I went camping because that's what we could afford. I didn't go to Disneyland. I didn't get to go on an airplane until I could afford to go on one myself. Maybe because of some of that conditioning, I ended up with some debt myself. I ended up making some bad decisions. What I realized through kind of those experiences is that okay, if I've done some things that maybe I shouldn't have done, I can't dwell on those things too much. I just need to make the decisions now that I can learn from those things, right? The past is a wonderful library that we can learn from. We don't need to dwell on the things that we've done in the past, right? Or even the situations, right? I'm very positive by nature. I had to teach myself that. So I say that by nature today, but I wasn't that positive really before. It's the personal development journey that I've been on. It's the associations that I've built and the people I hang around. It's the books that I've read. It's the podcasts and just like this one that I've associated with over time, that's kind of got me this place where, hey, if I have a flat tire, then I can be grateful. Well, I have 3 tires that are working and things could always be worse. And so I think that people that live these wealthy lives, or they live these positive, where you look at them and they're like, wow, they're flourishing, right? They're doing so well. They do have challenges and they have wins come to their sales that they're not planning for, but it's how they're reacting to those things. And what I've realized, this happens in your life as you grow as a person, but also with your finances, is that we don't get successful in a day. It's what we do daily. And we can say the exact same thing with our finances. We don't get wealthy overnight, or you don't get to accumulate some wealth over time and get in a better, more financial secure position overnight. It's what you're doing every single day. It's the small decisions that you're making when, adversity kind of strikes, or you have, do I make this purchase, or do I sleep on it another day? To make sure that it's the right decision to do. And so those are the things that kind of come to mind, but I've kind of lived by that, is that I can't control everything all the time, but I'm going to focus on what I can control. A great coach that I had playing soccer, he would say that we need to focus on the controllable things, right? Not the referee, not how the ball skips on the grass, right? Not the weather, but we can control our attitude. We can control our efforts. We can control how we react to certain scenarios that come. And that, I think, leads to us living more positive lives, more fulfilled lives. It helps us get in better financial secure positions, right? If we kind of live our life like that.
That's amazing. And I'm just going to do one more thing on your Instagram. I really like this conversation, because what it tells me is, and we're going to come to that, for any advice that you would have for somebody who is going through where you were at 15, 16 years ago. So what you just described aligns with what you have here on your Instagram: reset, realign, restart, reclaim, reignite. Because there are times when somebody is at a low hopelessness, but then the power is in their hand to reset. I really like that.
Yeah, if I comment on that, I really like the Ignite part. I have actually used that as like a team name for my team inside of financial services. You
Mm-hmm.
could look up the definitions. It depends where you look, but on one definition, it means to catch fire,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe that we can be reborn at any time, right? You can make a new decision, right? So maybe you didn't come from a wealthy family. Well, a wealthy family can come from you, right? With a
Yes.
decision. All right. And
Yes.
it can be as easy as that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't need, I didn't come from a lot of education around finances, but I was still able to build a financial services business. That's because I just made a decision that I was going to learn.
Yes.
Right. And so I'm a big fan that, hey, the past doesn't equal the future, right? We can understand that use it as a library, like I mentioned, but we can make big decisions in the moment. You don't have to wait for, I read somewhere that there's a life altering situation that's going to happen to you every 6 months.
Mm-hmm. 6 months, huh?
Yeah. And we don't,
Mm.
sometimes they're not big, sometimes they could be small, but most of the time what happens is people wait till they get to financial ruin to make
Mm.
to make a big decision that they're not going to live like this anymore, right? Or
Mm.
they let their health fade a little bit and then something goes wrong with their health and then they make a big decision. Okay, that's what it took my dad. It took my dad to get diagnosed with early onset diabetes for him to really start taking care of his health. And now my dad's healthier than he's ever been, right? But you
Mm.
don't have to wait for a tragedy to happen for you to be reborn, for you to
Yep.
reset, for you to realign, for you to get reignited, right? Which the
Wow.
other definition of ignite is to kind of arouse some emotion, right? You don't have to wait for something like that to happen. If you look at all the blessings that are happening around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I, on my Instagram, and you mentioned it, Dr. Rose, I am a lot very family oriented and
Yes.
do use my family as fuel, right? To make sure I'm getting them in the best financial decision possible. And it's helping me make the best decisions I can make for them day by day. And it's helping me
Yes.
work hard in my business so I can build the multiple streams of income and have,
Mm-hmm.
set myself up for them and making sure that I'm putting the plans in place for my kids so they can live the lifestyle that I could have only dreamed of.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Amazing.
I'm
Amazing.
pretty passionate about all those things.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot, Paul. I'm gonna say, if you think back the past 15 years, what was your lowest moment and how did you dig yourself out of it? Because it's really what I'm trying to get after for my audience. So somebody is in their low, 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 low. What were some of the things that you did to pull yourself out? So let's say somebody right now is in a state of depression and they've hit rock bottom, they can't pay their bills, the family is hungry, they don't know where the next meal is going to come from, they lost
Mhm,
their job, like life really hits rock bottom. If you can dig back in memory lane, how
mhm.
can that person overcome? What do they need to do?
Yeah, I've had those moments. And
Mm,
there were times it's not fun to go back to those moments, but it really does. Those are character building moments.
mhm,
And there were times where like my car broke down and I didn't have enough money to let alone pay another car payment.
mhm,
They cut my phone off because I was so far behind.
mhm,
Um, I was behind on so many things. It was a really low point in my life.
mhm,
Now I didn't realize I did this at the time, but now I definitely know is that I think sometimes people believe that success happens in all these big moments, but what I've realized is that success really happens in all the small moments,
mm,
most moments when no one's really watching.
mm.
And what I did is I just focused on progress, right?
Progress.
Even if you got 1% better every day, right? That's 365% every year, right? If you
Mhm,
focus on progress, right? So yeah, you might not be in a very good position today, like you're painting that picture.
mhm,
Well, if you focus on getting a little bit better today, and in our business, we talk a lot about sometimes it's less about the result that you're getting, maybe in the finances, right? But it's
mhm,
the activity that counts. So, like, what
mhm,
activities are you doing, right? Maybe you decide, okay, I'm going to watch less TV and I'm going to
mhm.
finally read out of a good book.
Yeah.
Now, that might not correlate to you being wealthy tomorrow, or right, you being more positive right away, but over a period of time. But see, those are moments when no one's watching, right? At 10 o'clock at night, when you're having quiet time, you get the kids to bed, right? Are you putting on the TV, or are you reading out of a good book? Right? Success is in those small moments, those small decisions where you're just and I believe when I've had those dark moments, I was still doing things in the background, right? In the moments when no one was watching, that I was really growing myself. I was working on my personal development plan. I was kind of embracing the bad times, because pain does turn into strength over time.
Pain
Yeah.
turns into strength over time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Ooh, I have 1 minute remaining. Time is just flying away.
Yeah, it's been
But,
fun.
I'd like to just do, and that really brings me to one last thing I wanted to chat with you on your Instagram, Paul. And that was this post, this one here that says, ordinary people have big TVs. Extraordinary people have big libraries. And that's, that alludes to what you were saying about reading a good book instead of watching 1 more hour of TV, because that good book can help you with mindset, an idea of how to move forward. I really like that. I really like that. Awesome. Okay. So Paul, lastly, your kids, you have Harlem is 5,
Almost 4.5.
4.5, and Beckham is 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to assume you did talk about your dad having worked for the same company for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
I want to assume that you're doing whatever it takes to prevent that from happening to your kids, right? So
Yeah.
what are you doing to position your children now, babies, to be well set financially in the future? What are you doing for them? And so the reason I'm asking is how can my audience learn from what you're doing for your children?
Yeah. So there's kind of, I'll answer this in 2 parts, Dr. Rose, and I'll be quick with it. So a common mistake sometimes people make is that they're trying to like squeeze more juice out of the fruit. And what I mean by that is I mean that some people are working on trying to save more money out of the current income that they're making. A great way for you to save more money for your kids is focusing on earning more. And my parents made a big mistake where they tried to save in pinch pennies and tried to do as much as they could to save. And I'm not saying not do that. I'm an advocate, have a budget, right? Know where your money goes, save as much money as you can. But on the same side, you need to spend some time working on growing your income potential, right? Getting in the industries and the things that you could do, right? Figuring out what your strengths are and find ways to be profitable with them. Because then you can start really fueling a strong savings plan.
Yeah.
And that's what I've worked on doing over the last 15 years. And the byproduct of that has allowed me to, I was talking with my wife recently, and I was even thinking, I have more money saved up, and we have more money saved up for our kids than some clients of mine have saved up their whole entire retirement.
Yeah,
And,
I
I'm
believe
only
that.
5 years in, but I'm a bit advocate of not always investing in one specific thing, right? To having diversity and there's lots of great avenues, right? Here in Canada, right? There's programs that we can get that the government will supplement, right? Some of the savings plans through an education savings plan, which is a great thing to do. And I've set those up and I've maxed those up for my kids, because if the government's going to give me free money, I'm going to take it.
Why not?
And then, there's other avenues where you could go and you can guarantee their insurability, but you can set up strategies where they can grow their money tax-free. They can access their money tax-free. And now they have a lot of flexibility with that. I can help them buy their first car. I can help them with a wedding present. I can help them. There's so much flexibility with saving money there. And so there's actually 3 pots that I've been putting savings in for my kids. And I'm really committed to setting them up for success and making sure I'm going to educate them along the way, so they understand how they work. They can continue on what Logan and I have started to build for them. And then they're going to be, I wasn't in a place where someone educated me about money. And I think that's where it kind of goes wrong with, especially when we talk about kids, is that unfortunately, you talked about the popcorn effect where we're waiting around, right? Most people are waiting for someone to save them financially, or they're waiting for someone to like give them the magic pill that's going to help them, right? I think if we take a more leadership approach in Canada, whether you're listening to this podcast, so you would be one of them, you would be a leader, that you need to take personal responsibility. You need to educate yourself on what you need to do to earn more income and save more money and get yourself in the best position possible, because the information's out there, right? This isn't 50, 60, 70 years ago where you had to put everything to the side to become an expert at something. Now, all the information, the knowledge is at your fingertips, right? You just have to decide that you're going to go do that. And that's why I love being on shows like this, Dr. Rose, where you're getting this information out to people where they can access it and they can learn more. And, I really appreciate you doing that.
Awesome. Well, and that's a wrap for us today. Paul, thank you. And thanks for sharing your vulnerable moments. Thanks for sharing about your family. Thanks for being here. And, I cannot thank you enough. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. Really admire you. Yeah.
Awesome. So for all my viewers out there, please, just help me thank Paul. And again, go back to his Instagram, take a look at what, all the mindset posts that he has there, family. And what has really amazed me about Paul is that shift from making $35K a year to making $300,000 a year on year, by just hard work, smart work, and mindset, personal development, all of that. So don't forget to share and subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions at all as to how you can build what Paul is building, what I'm building, he's mentoring me, and what I'm building, call me 780-680-1334 and let's set up one-on-ones. But yeah, have a good day, everybody. And once again, Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.